Hello, and welcome to Locked In. But it's not football. It is not football for the first time ever in the history of important nonsense. We're talking something else. We are talking college basketball. We are talking March Madness. So I would just like to say congratulations to Jason because he's been begging for this for literally years now.
Yeah, I'm still wishing that more. I wish Underdog needs to have that CBB portion so I can bet there. I want Kansas to allow sports betting so I can make some money off of this nonsense. And have been on fire this year, and I'm pumped for it. I am so ready for March Madness to have all the fun. These games has just been the adrenaline and all of the drug that I needed to get through this work week, especially having all these games has just been a blast.
Yeah, and there's been so much that's happened so far, so much to happen. But before we get to that, we would like to introduce Vishaal Gupta at Vishaal Gupta 95 because he's the betting wizard here. He's got all of the lines, all of the props that are out so far. I know there's not tons, but Vishaal, how's it going here tonight?
Doing great. Like Jason said, it's March. It's great time of the year. Champ week, so many games on these past few days, and then leading into next week, the first 2 days of March Madness. There's nothing like it. 32 games, 2 days. You can't beat it. So looking forward to it.
You really can't. There is nothing in the world like college basketball. Nothing in the world like March Madness. Can you imagine a college football tournament like this or an NFL tournament like this?
Ooh, you're playing with fire there, Jack. That's way too much fun for us.
Oh, yeah, too much. They don't want to give us all of the betting that they can. They just want to keep it all quiet. They want to keep it silent. It sucks, but this is the one event, the one time a year that all bets are off. And we can just enjoy the madness that March brings. And so with that in mind, let's start with the teams that have clinched. The teams that have punched their ticket by winning their conference tournament. We have, I believe, 12 of those so far, Jason.
That sounds about right. I'm pretty sure it's 12. Tomorrow we're going to add 2 more.
Ooh,
so we'll be at 14. But then, you'll be wrapping up on Sunday with the rest of them. So it's going to be very quick to just kind of come down to the wire.
All right, so Vishaal, do you have any information on the 2 games being played tomorrow?
So tomorrow, I'm guessing he's talking about the ACC championship game and then also the Big 12 championship game where those conferences are going to finish up. So looking like it's going to be Duke, probably North Carolina tomorrow in the ACC, and then for the Big 12, Kansas against TCU or Texas Tech. So should be good ones. All 4 teams are probably already be in the tournament. It's just a matter of seeding at this point. But yeah, should be good ones tomorrow.
Yeah. And of course, there's also a lot of the smaller ones that you're looking at, like American East has their final tomorrow. The Ivy League also has their final tomorrow. Then there's a couple, MEAC has their final tomorrow as well. But it's just, there's so many games that it's very hard to keep track of everything. So
there really is. The build up to March Madness is almost, I shouldn't say almost impossible because Jason follows it pretty closely, follows it pretty well. You have, how many teams do you have ranked, Jason?
Right now I'm at 115.
Whew.
And so, yeah,
Sheesh.
It's not even a third officially. It's close. It's close, but it's just one of those things that I kind of work through. And as teams are being eliminated, they're of course getting cut out or moved into where I have them in the top 68 that are potentially going to be playing this week.
Jeez Louise, you have this down to a science. And that's why we've got you here, because we've got to know who to bet on, who to pick. And so I'm just looking at some of these lines here. We've got what were the games you were saying tomorrow?
Okay, so tomorrow, if you're looking at, let's see, your first tip-off is at 10 a.m. tomorrow, okay, and it's Vermont versus UMBC. Vermont is just absolutely running the American East. It's an easy game. They should be able to just clinch and immediately have their game and be in the tournament. Then also the Ivy League, which is Cornell versus Princeton. Princeton has also dominated that league. Cornell's made it into the final, which is super impressive because they're 7-7 and have somehow figured out that, we're going to decide to play right now and try and get in and be a spoiler for this. But I just don't think they're going to have the opportunity against Princeton, who just plays a very balanced ball club.
And Vishaal, can you find any lines on these games tomorrow? Do you have any?
So looking at those two games are the only ones that I've seen that I think have lines so far. And
there's a couple others I'm seeing for tomorrow for other conferences, some of the major conferences. There's a matchup tomorrow in the Big Ten already set for Iowa versus Indiana. Iowa's getting 6 points. Indiana's made a bit of a surprise run here, upsetting Michigan yesterday and then upsetting 1 seed Illinois today. So they have a little bit of momentum, but I think Iowa's just a far better team. So I would probably take the 6 points on that one. You have an Arkansas minus 6.5 against Texas A&M. A&M, much like Indiana, has pulled off a couple upsets. They also upset the 1 seed in their conference in Auburn today. So you're kind of seeing, like, can these sleeper teams continue these magical runs in their championship tournament to make a run into the tournament? Usually they peter out around this time, so I'll probably take the favorites in these ones.
Okay, so I finally found some odds here. We've got Cornell 6-point underdogs to Princeton, which we mentioned. So you're going to be taking Princeton there?
Yeah. And what's the over-under on that? I'm assuming it's probably like
153.
Yep, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I would probably honestly take the under on that. I think that's too high. I think Princeton's going to dominate, and I don't think that they're going to be able to score that much for Cornell.
Yeah, that all right. So that's our games tomorrow. And what about these teams that have already clinched? We've got a list here, and I need to understand, Jason, the Bellarmine ban. So Bellarmine is banned. Jacksonville State will take their place in the Atlantic Sun Division.
Okay, so this is something that I don't know why they decided to do it this way. I kind of do. It kind of deters teams to allow them to really build up and not bring in any money for the conference, which is super frustrating anyway. But so Bellarmine became a D1 school in 2020. They are not allowed to play for 4 years in any postseason play. So even given the opportunity, they are not allowed to play in it. So with that in mind, Jacksonville State played Jacksonville the night before. Jacksonville actually won the game, went to play Bellarmine in the finals, and Bellarmine won. So with them winning, Jacksonville has an additional loss, which sends Jacksonville State to the tournament.
What?
Yes. So it's a big mess that is created because they were this team that shouldn't be having this success at a D1 level is having it. And it's just mind-blowing that this is even an issue to come up. It'd be different if they had dirty recruiting or they had an actual NCAA ban that just made more sense in this, but they don't. And so it's extremely frustrating for, I'm sure, Bellarmine, as they just can't play in any postseason play. I don't even know why they were allowed to play in this tournament if they're not allowed to. I mean, they just played the upset clearly and they won it. And it's just embarrassing that the NCAA won't allow them into this. And yeah.
Draconian.
It's mind-blowing.
Oh, we could go on for days about the draconian measures of the NCAA and college sports in general and amateurism. But
we don't have enough time for that, Jack.
But that was a pretty good explanation from Jason. So Jacksonville State will represent the Atlantic Sun. We've got the Longwood Lancers in the Big South. Delaware Blue Hens, that's where Joe Flacco went. So there's a
and the big thing about that is they were an upset. Like they came in to upset that league and beat Towson, who was supposed to be the one to take that conference, and the Blue Hens came out of nowhere to just put them away.
Okay. And then we've got Wright State in the Horizon Conference, Loyola Chicago in the MVC, the Bryant Bulldogs in the NEC. Ohio Valley will be represented by the Murray State Racers. The Patriot League will be represented by Colgate. we'll see the Chattanooga Mocs from the Southern Conference, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits from Summit, the Georgia State Panthers from the Sun Belt, and of course, the Gonzaga Bulldogs will represent the WCC.
I love it. Jack announces the teams like he's calling the starters onto the floor right here and now.
Well, because they are. That's the best part of this. It's extremely frustrating because I know that a couple of these teams are going to have quote unquote play-in games and going to be set at a 16, which is extremely frustrating for them. But again, it's so much fun, and that's part of why we're even doing this. It's just because everybody's into this. I don't care who you are. I'm sure you can talk to anybody on the streets about March Madness and all the games that are going on. And I'm sure everybody in your office pool or any of your friends, you all have brackets that you're going to be putting together next week and trying to submit to see who is the top dog.
Yeah, and we'll be doing a full bracket breakdown next week. Once the tournament is set, we'll be teaching you how to build your bracket. But for now, Vishaal, out of the teams that are currently clinched in their conference, who should we be looking at for the best odds? I know Gonzaga probably going to have really low odds, probably going to be pretty heavily favored. So that's not really the smart bet. What are your thoughts here?
Unfortunately, the rest of those teams who have clinched are going to be really high double-digit seeds. They're going to be 16, 15, 14 seeds. And it's just really hard to figure out if they're going to have any sort of chance to win a game in this tournament. You can put a bet on it just for fun. You want to see a fun Cinderella upset, a 15-2, or a UMBC type upset, 16-1. But there's no way you can confidently put any money on these teams besides Gonzaga. So until we get some better teams, some Power 5 teams in there, don't spend any money quite just yet.
I have to fade my friend and partner Vishaal here a little bit because I've been highlighting a team that I've really liked coming through the conference right here. They made a run last year up to the Sweet 16, and they've really been coming together as a unit, as one of the most efficient units on the floor right now for the conference tournament, and that's Loyola. They have been absolutely killing it. Like I said, they're an experienced group. They're peaking at the right time. They're one of the most efficient teams in the country at getting open looks. It's really just going to come down to them hitting their shots and not turning over the ball, which is kind of a key for almost any team to win any basketball game. So I really like them moving down the stretch. Now, are they going to take the whole tourney? No, probably not. But I definitely am going to be highlighting them as they move through this bracket, and I expect them to get a little bit further. And I have some buddies out there in Loyola, so shout out to B Flem. We're going to be rooting for you, buddy, and I'm going to be making some money along the way. So hopefully that one works out for us.
Yeah, and I like Loyola. I think that they got really lucky getting into the conference tournament this year. Surprisingly, they should have. I am much more of a mid-major guy, so I like to push these teams into the tournament, which is part of my frustrations with how this whole thing even separates out. I really like the South Dakota Jackrabbits. They're one of the teams that just, on the floor, they move the ball well, and they shoot it a crazy high percentage. Like their three balls, if they get hot, they are a team that is going to destroy whatever team is on the floor because they have the ability to shoot threes like crazy. And the other team out of them that isn't Gonzaga is the Murray State Racers. The fact that they have been able to put on a huge run, 30-2, they have a 20, I'm pretty sure it's a 20-win streak right now, and have just been on fire. It's one of those teams that, again, they move the ball well, and that's a huge part of any kind of basketball game at this point. Your success is really going to come from your guard play. I do think that a lot of teams have more talent and have a lot bigger players, which will end up, of course, causing them not to be Final Four kind of a team. But they have that opportunity because the basics are there and they move the ball extremely well.
And so with that in mind, we just want to recap quickly. We've got nothing from Vishaal. He's not taken anybody that's qualified so far through winning their conference. From Mason, we've got Loyola Chicago. Want to keep them in mind. And from Jason, we've got Murray State. And so if you can find any odds early ahead of time before the matchups are announced, maybe not a bad time to place a bet on those two teams because you never know how the odds are going to change once the tournament is actually announced. But looking at the Pac-12 tournament, we've got odds on Arizona. They're the favorites, -145. We've got UCLA plus 175, and we've got USC plus 700. Safe to say Arizona's winning.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with Arizona here. I mean, they are just so. I'm sure a lot of people realize that the head coach is brand new for Arizona. He is coming from Mark Few and the Gonzaga Bulldogs, and this is his first year running this team, and it definitely shows how gritty they are and how hard they fight. It's a mentality that he's definitely brought to this team that gives them a huge step above the rest of the conference.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely.
agreed. When I did my piece last week on the tournament winners, Arizona was definitely my pick out of the Pac-12. It's just not a good conference for a Power 5 conference. They're only projected to have 3 teams in the tournament this year. So UCLA, I think, can give them a good game. I expect them to make the championship game tomorrow, but in the end, it's going to be Arizona.
And so just looking through this, it appears as though Jason, ever the fantastic assistant to my hosting duties, he has filled in his prediction for each and every conference.
I went a little overboard, I will say, just because I think that these are the teams that likely win their conferences and get that bid in automatically. And it's pretty chalk for the most part, I think, but it'll be interesting to see how it ends up and how close it is.
So Vishaal, Vermont to win the American East.
Sure, let's go with that. I'm not going to say I have a lot of. I'm very knowledgeable about some of these mid-major conferences, so if that's what Jason's got, I'll go along with him on that one.
Yeah, that's the thing. Jason just he's got everything. Jason has everything, and so there's really, I could read you all of the predictions that he has here.
And Jason gives us all the juice in the Discord too. So me and Vishaal are the ones just making money off of Banana Tech. Jason tells us Banana Tech -2, and we make money off of it. So
it's part of the fun for sure. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, after football ended, doing that streak of every game for every day, I thought I was going to die. The amount of stress I put on it was just too much, and it was so much fun just getting a chance to actually really dive into every team as they started to play and see how they match up against clearly all the other teams in their conference.
And Jason, your work on that was so comprehensive. How much time does that take to really dive into all of these teams? Because like you said, you ranked out over 100 teams and still barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, I mean, so when I was looking at those, it took me more time to actually go through, see what their star players are, see if there had any injuries that could have affected it or anybody that was going to be out. That was the more time-consuming part of it because I've been watching a majority of the games. I clearly take time I focus more on the mid-majors just because those are the ones that a lot of people sleep on, and so they know all these big teams that are coming in. A lot of times the mid-major ones kind of squeak by that people don't really pay attention to. But I would probably say during that week, I spent 8 or 9 hours a day just doing research on each team that was playing. It was a little, it was insane, and I'm not going to do that again. But the fact that I was able to come out on top made me pretty happy overall for that week.
And we're all proud of you for it. And with all of your deep dive, with all the information that you have acquired, you've got some hot takes. And what I'm looking at right here, it's Jason's teams that don't deserve it, but likely get in. And there are some scorchers in here.
Yeah, I mean, and it just comes down to the fact that I think the fact they are in the power conferences really give them the leg up. Another team that isn't actually listed, and Vishaal made me think of it, is actually USC. Because the Trojans have so-so guard play, and they're just so inconsistent that I could easily see them being bounced the first weekend and not even it being another thought. It's just one of those teams that I really don't. The fact that they get have some key wins really will push them into the tournament, and it's extremely frustrating. I mean, I don't know why. Ohio State Buckeyes have been ranked way too much this year. It's driven me insane because they get some key wins, even though they completely suck the rest of the year. It's extremely frustrating, the fact that they are going likely be in this tournament because they have some big time wins.
Well, and another one.
They're not even on the
note,
bubble. They're just in.
Yeah.
Exactly. What are they thinking?
And then another one on that note, you highlighted Michigan right next. And that's a tough look because they've been kind of skidding, but their big key win is against Ohio State. So it's like, how much is that really worth?
Yeah, and it's extremely frustrating. I don't know why I do, because clearly they're high quality teams and they have the record in the past of having that exact, okay, they've done it before, we can see them doing it again, so we might as well put them in, have their fan bases help raise money, whatever. That's the only thing I can see as to why they continue to even be in the conversation for top 25, because I don't think they should have been.
Damn, so no Michigan, no Ohio State, no USC.
Yeah, and I think the other ones are pretty basic. I mean, you saw Alabama get bounced in their conference tournament already. Like, they shouldn't be that. It's not fair. They should, because they started off playing very well. But looking at their entire body of work, I can't say that they're going to have a lot of success in this tournament and are going to be a team that a lot of decent teams are going to be able to knock out relatively easily. And it's extremely frustrating because it's just one of those things that so many people will look at it and be like, oh, it makes sense. Alabama played well. I remember them playing well. And they're going to get in off of it. And I just don't think that they should.
Well, and that's great insight for the betting lines too, because these are teams that you can highlight that will probably get decent odds, and you can fade them and pick more value further down the board, or just ignore them altogether. So that's definitely a good highlight right there. And, another one that I want to ask you about, Jason, and even V, is we see Seton Hall here on your list too, Jason. And that's another team that I see highlighted a lot from the big names, from the big hoops heads out there. So what's your analysis on them and why you think they might not deserve it, but still probably will get in?
I think it's the fact that they are a Big East team, and I think that I could potentially see them even winning the Big East tournament, but it's just when you actually watch them play, they don't have that cohesion. They don't have a consistent guard play. It's very up and down, and it's rough to watch. And so while they are very gritty and can easily lock down people, for 40 minutes, having them have to do that against a high-quality team, I don't see them having that much success. Again, another team, they could easily make it into the second weekend, but if they do, I don't think they're going to make it any further than that. Like, that's going to be the end of their run.
And V, who do you highlight as maybe one of your overrated teams that people are, harping on, that you're kind of hesitant on? Anybody that Jason didn't list here that we need to be aware of?
A lot of the teams you said I agree with. I think Alabama, just like you said, really stands out. They have not done anything at all lately. I'm surprised to see them. They were still ranked, I think, coming into this week. So I agree with them on that one.
How about a big disagreement? I want to see what you disagree with me on out of the ones I picked, because that'd be more fun for me.
Well, not one you said. One I saw on your list that I was a little surprised by was UNC, seeing them on that list. I think they've been playing a lot better lately. I think they've won, 9 out of their last 10 games, including the huge win at Cameron last week at Coach K's final game. It was a great game, great to watch. It looks like they're going to probably pretty easily make it to the ACC championship game tomorrow. They have a good matchup against Virginia Tech today. So I'm surprised to see them on your list. I would probably have them firmly in right now in the tournament.
Oh, yeah, they're absolutely going to be in, and they deserve to be in. Again, I think it's the fact that they have that caliber of team and the history behind it that they're able to easily scoot into the. And had they not won today, I guess, have they played yet today?
No, they're going to play after the Duke game.
Okay, so if they win today, sure, I could see them being locked in for them to be in the tournament. But they were locked in after winning yesterday's game, and that is just mind blowing to me.
Texas
Correct.
is a 2 seed. That is all. Chris Salazar, of course, celebrating Texas Tech. He had to work tonight. The only reason he's not in this stream right now, but had to drop by and talk about his guys at Texas.
And don't worry, we'll get Chris in here. Chris is doing a lot of great work doing other hoop stuff for us. We have another piece coming out for him. If anybody's been paying attention, he's got great bubble watch stuff. So he's really been a highlight. We're going to highlight a few of his analysis a little bit later as we move through some of these teams too. So shout out to Chris. We appreciate you, buddy.
We do. We love Chris. We're hoping that next week we can have him on the Bracket Builder show. But in the meantime, I want to go back to the USC comment. So Jason says, bet against USC in round 1, regardless of who they're playing. And of course, within reason, but USC is one of those strong bet against. Is there anyone else that is a strong bet against in round 1? It sounds like Bama might be one of those teams that you're ready to see bounced.
Yeah, I mean, just because I think that I can see them being potentially one of the, if they get a 6 seed or worse, they're going to be in big trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
I will not see them getting past the first weekend if they are a 6 seed. And it's going to be very upsetting for any Alabama fans because they expect a lot out of this team, and I don't see it.
They're spoiled. They don't deserve it. They're spoiled. Go Arkansas. Woo pig.
Yeah, I'm all aboard it. I mean, Arkansas has one of my Wichita State players playing for him now, so it's one of those things that I'm really happy that he's having success there, and that team is playing very well right now. They have all the right pieces and are getting hot at the right time.
I like that, Jason. Say more nice things about my team, please. I love to hear it.
Well, and so Jason, I actually have a question from the audience, from a family friend. Wichita State.
Yeah.
Shockers.
Unfortunate.
What's a shocker?
It's actually dealing with a shock of wheat, which is just considered a bundle of wheat. And so being a shocker was somebody who would collect it. So that is a quote unquote shocker.
This is why it takes Jason 9 hours to break down the mid-majors.
You're welcome.
Shout out to Paul. Now we know what a shocker is. It is
Let's go,
collector of wheat.
What's a Rambler? This is the one we talked about a few years ago when they made that Final Four run for Loyola Chicago. What's a Rambler?
Good
Somebody
question.
who won't shut up like me. No. Oh, golly.
Oh.
But no, it's definitely funny just because of the fact that I don't know if you guys watched the game. I'm sure you didn't because it's AAC and nobody cares. But Shockers played yesterday, had a brutal loss. They had one of their best guards out, and I was just devastated because had I known beforehand, definitely would have taken that line immediately and gotten Tulsa for that win very easily, which they did. And then I think right now they're just absolutely getting smoked by SMU, as I also suggested that the Shockers would likely end up happening to them. Let me pull that up. 56-44. SMU's up with 11 minutes left. Plenty of time for them to mess that up. But it's difficult being a fan of a team, but also having being objective/subjective on them and realizing where you kind of are with each team that you're looking at. And so I guess that's part of it is just I end up being a fan of a lot of teams because I look at them and I like their different styles of play and what they can do and what they can't do. And so it's definitely interesting to see how that ends up turning everything around.
Well then, Jason, if you are such a fan of so many teams, we're going to go rapid fire here with games going on tomorrow. We've got Pennsylvania at Yale. Yale, 2.5-point favorites.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take Yale there just because it's 2.5. And while I do think that Pennsylvania's
you can also get it at
okay. They have 3.5 too?
Yeah, you can get it at 3.5 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I'd probably even take 3.5. I mean, I just don't see that game being that close. They are fairly similar, but I think Yale has enough of the right pieces that they should be able to get through that game pretty easily and hopefully separate. The big thing is towards the end of the game, when people are just playing to win, it drives me insane to watch those points slowly come back down.
It's almost like their strategy is working or something.
Yeah, I hate it.
Houston is hosting Tulane as 13-point favorites.
Yeah, I wrote up the entire AAC tournament, and this is the game I have the most issue with because I absolutely love what Tulane has done this year. But with Houston having the success that they are, it's going to be hard for them to lose this game. Now, the championship game, I see them very easily losing to Memphis again for the three-peat. But the fact that they don't have Tremont Mark and Marcus Sasser is a huge detriment to Houston as a team as a whole. They don't have that scoring ability, and they are definitely a big part of their defensive strategy as well. So the fact that Kelvin Sampson is even able to do anything with this team and has continued his run through the AAC has been very impressive. But 13 is a lot just because they.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Vishaal, can you co-sign a 13-point?
Not at this time of year. I mean, when we're getting this close or getting in the semifinals, finals of these conference tournaments, it's rarely a blowout like that. So no, I probably couldn't co-sign double-digit spread.
Are we taking Tulane, taking the points for Tulane, but taking Houston money line?
Probably. I mean, it's going to be close.
It might also be a pick that you try to tease with something else to bring that line a little closer to something more reasonable. Because like V said, 13 is incredibly high, especially for this time of year. I mean, especially even
for Houston,
as soon as you start getting past 10, you kind of start, getting a little tight on your wallet, grabbing a hold a little bit. But then after you start going 3 more points, it's a full basket. You really start to question it. So.
I love all of the advice we're getting. Don't worry. We will have a full recap at the end of the show. Maybe post an article of all of the information gleaned here tonight. Yeah. Next up, though.
Whoa. No. I want to cover this real quick because just the fact this is my conference, so I really enjoyed talking about it. So Tulane has 3 stars that are just scoring double digits like crazy. It's going to be an offense that is really solid with ball movement and has talent against a defense that is supposed to be so stingy that you really struggle and they want to slow down the game. If Tulane can really push this envelope, I could see this only being a single possession game. And so if that is the case, that is definitely something that could make it a lot more fun. Calvin Sampson has had Tulane's number and most of the conference number this year, and it's going to be definitely hard on quote unquote neutral court, even though it's in Fort Worth. They're going 13's a lot. That is what it really comes down to. So 13 is a lot. I don't think that they can do it, but it will be a fun game either way, and you want to watch it. So the important part, they want to watch it. It's going to be fun.
You want to watch Houston versus Tulane. You can catch that at 3:00 p.m. And at night at 8:30 p.m., you can catch Louisiana Tech at the University of Alabama, Birmingham.
Yeah.
UAB
I'm pretty excited
by
for
3.
It. Really? Man, after playing a late game yesterday and then a 3 overtime game today, I'm taking Louisiana Tech to win this game.
So not even just the points, the money line.
Yeah. I think the 3 points helps, but I'm taking Louisiana Tech here.
So, Jason, let me ask you this. When you make your evaluations for something like that, rest does come into factor, obviously. But do you ever see that as more of a momentum thing? Or are you kind of like us, numbers heads where momentum isn't a line on my spreadsheet, so I don't really care about it type thing?
Yes and no. I think because of the fact that this is going to be their 3rd game in 3 days, I think they are going to be tired. You kind of saw it today. Like, this should have been a game that they had a good chance of winning by double digits, and they got really tired. The fact they were able to pull it out is huge, but I just don't see them having that same success tomorrow.
Jeez Louise. Vishaal, I'm just watching your face, and you're keeping quiet, but I know there's something stirring inside.
No, again, with these mid-major conferences, I'm just going to follow Jason's lead on these and just kind of see what he has to say and follow along. I think that's my best path forward. But he's right. When you play an overtime game or triple overtime game like they did today, and you have to play consecutive days, that's very difficult. I mean, we remember some of those marathon runs that Big East teams used to have. Remember UConn in 2011. Those are very rare where you can win 4 or 5 games in a row consecutive days. It just doesn't happen very often. So, 3 games, 3 days, triple overtime is just a lot for a team to overcome.
Didn't UConn have something stupid like 10 in 12 days or something like that?
Yeah,
they've
had a couple of games.
Big East and 6 in the tournament for 11 in a row, something like that.
Yeah. Yikes. See, and me and V,
it's insane.
We always love to hear the people, the smarter people than us, so that we can go in and we can make that money off of them. V's out here setting his line right now. He's sending me DMs with the picks. So we're going to have some nice cards coming up in the next couple of days. Let's just say that.
And so V mentioned he doesn't pay so much attention to the mid-major. So let's talk the majors, the Power 5, because we've got a Big Ten matchup tomorrow between Indiana, the Hoosiers, versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa favored by 6.5 with an over-under of 144.
6.5 is a lot.
I
think that they can do it. I would take them, and 70. It's 140, so you're looking at 70.
Iowa can put up points in bunches. So I mean, if I think they can run Indiana out of the gym. They can put up 80 of their own. So I think.
Yeah, but do you think that Indiana's going to be able to put up 60 points against Iowa if they're running them out?
They could. There's a lot of garbage time. Indiana's played well the last couple of days. They scored more than I think people expected. They won 2 games that they weren't supposed to win. So I think they could, but I would definitely lean more towards taking Iowa minus 6.5. That's where I go. Iowa's one of my favorite teams in the country. They're one of my sleeper picks in this tournament. So I really like what they're doing.
Yeah, they're hitting their stride right at the right time. That's for sure. They nailed that cadence, and they're trying to run for sure. But we'll see. I think that the 6 is good. I think that's a pretty good spot, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's definitely more than that.
And this is something that we keep highlighting with a lot of the picks that are going to come up, is that 6 is a big key number. 6, 3, those are big key numbers in betting hoops, just period. So when you can get that edge one way or another by a half point, it's kind of worth it. So when you shop around, you should shop around for things like 5.5 versus 6, or 6.5 versus 6, so that you can have that slight extra edge on the hook. Thank goodness Steve's not here talking about the hook, because if he was, you definitely wouldn't hit it. But other than that, go shop around for your picks. Always do a little bit of shopping. I promise you'll come out on top more often than not.
And that is one important feature to note, is that the difference between sports books is vast. That's why you have to pay attention to everything that is happening across the board. And that is why you need to be in the important nonsense Discord. For $1, you can subscribe to us on Patreon, get in the Discord, and get all of the great betting advice that we're not willing to say on air. And with that in mind, though, we do have quite a bit of betting advice we're willing to say on air for free. And there's another big game tomorrow that we've got. It is a Big Ten matchup. And Chris, he's got a lot on his mind, because Texas Tech, 7.5 point favorites over the University of Oklahoma.
That's a Big 12 matchup.
Big 12.
Yeah, that will happen tonight.
All good. I know the numbers get the hard part of it, but yeah. So, and OU and Porter Mosier is just going crazy
tonight.
Yeah, he is
there.
He is going against everybody's will right now, and he doesn't even believe that what they're doing is right. He's the one who's saying that they are playing with house money and they want to continue playing with it. So I'm excited for him. I really like OU, but man, Texas Tech is playing insane basketball right now.
They had a nice blowout win yesterday, and OU was definitely a surprise team to even be here. They upset Baylor yesterday. Nobody really saw that one coming.
Well, they did have Cryer. Cryer got
Yeah.
hurt, and then they also have Jonathan Chachua, who's been out, and that really changes the whole look of that team. But
yeah, for sure. That's
I
why
just don't.
I said last week when I wrote my piece that that's why I'm not going to pick Baylor to win the Big 12 tournament because they just have too many injuries. But I still probably would have expected them to beat OU, a team that's on the bubble right now and may not even make the tournament. So definitely still an upset. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Oklahoma versus Texas Tech, 7.5. Seems maybe like a bit of a stretch. That's a lot of points. I don't know if Texas Tech is the best offensive team in the country. They're very solid defensively. I think they're the best defensive team in the Big 12. But 7.5 might be a bit much.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. I think it's going to be closer than that. So I would take OU with the money line, and then probably go under the 125 that I'm seeing, unless you guys have a higher number, because that would be more beneficial for me. I'd prefer it to be around 130 that I'd really take the under hard, but it's.
I've got 125 here, and
that's a super low number. If you're looking at other games, most games are in the 140s, 150s. If you're seeing 125,
Right.
that just tells you what kind of defense we're going to expect in this one.
And so I realized my mistake. I signed into my betting account because I wanted to make a parlay for all of Jason's picks. And the game I meant to talk about was actually Arkansas versus Texas A&M tomorrow. 6.5 point favorites for Arkansas. And I see Mason's got something to say.
Woo pig. That's all I ever have to say, Jack, is woo pig. You know, I don't care what the line is. I'm going to be betting my boys all the way to the championship game. They're going to be in my Final Four. I'm going to have them winning my championship just because I'm a good Homer fan the way I'm supposed to be, as all good Homers would.
Oh, that one's
The Final Four pick might not be so crazy. They're also one of my favorite teams this year.
Thank you,
They
V.
play really good. They made that
Final
Elite
Four
Eight run
for
last year.
Arkansas.
V knows how to say the right things.
They were in the Elite Eight last year, so it's just one more win this year. JD Note is back. They're a very strong, very physical team. So depending on what kind of matchups they get, that's not a bad pick for a Final Four run.
Yeah, that's why we're so patiently waiting for this bracket to come out, because that will really determine how far these teams go. I mean, Arkansas is definitely one of the dark horse teams just because they do have a solid defense. They do have the right players. They have everything that you really need to be a championship caliber team.
And you know what else they have? They have a win over Texas Tech last year.
Another tough one for the Red Raiders.
And a quick side note on Arkansas. I know we're talking NCAA basketball, but Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys owner, he is an Arkansas Razorback. So is Treylon Burks. With Amari Cooper gone, look out for Treylon Burks to go to the Dallas Cowboys. And back to basketball. So we're
more here, Jack. I got one more for you.
Oh.
Since you're our history fanatic, our football history fanatic, last Heisman Trophy winner from the University of Arkansas. Who was it, Jack?
Oh, geez.
I'm wearing his jersey right now, but you can't see the numbers, so I'm not going to show you.
I wanted to say Darren McFadden, but he didn't win it.
Oh, no.
Did he win it?
Yeah, he did.
Really?
Am I wrong? Am I getting Mandela effect?
I have no idea.
Well, he won it to me, so it doesn't matter either way. So, but either way, back to our scheduled program.
Back to basketball. We've got, what did we say for Princeton and Cornell again? Did we make a final say? 6 points for Princeton?
Yeah, I would say Princeton is good for 6 here.
Okay, that's what I wanted to thought. Just wanted to make sure. And then we've got Vermont, 15-point favorites over MD Baltimore.
15's a lot. I mean, they're a very good team, but again, I think that they get ahead, and so I'm not taking Vermont with 15. Good Lord.
V, can you in good conscience get behind that, or is this something we stay away from in total?
Yeah, just stay away. Again, 15's a lot. These kids are going to play their hearts out. They want it. They want to go to the big dance, even if they don't think they have a chance once they make the tournament. They just want to be there. They just want to experience the feeling of going dancing. So, 15
and they're playing the Retrievers. Like that's a team that is very fast, and so I could see this. That's a lot for them to try and slow down. So if you're taking the line, I'm taking UMBC because that 15's massive. But straight up win, Vermont gets it. UMBC is definitely within the 15 points, though.
Yeah, 15 is a lot of damn points at this time of year, as you said. And oh goodness, Chris Salazar, he is real upset right now. He lost to Tebow, I'm pretty sure.
You know what? He's
Tebow
right
and
too.
Troy Smith.
I had to go look at it, and I just realized that all the PTSD, all the oppressed memories of those bad times just came back to me. I was living in red-colored glasses. But you know what? He won to me, so I don't care.
Oh, well, gee, it's going to be okay, Mason. Don't worry about it.
I'll get over it. I'll get over it.
You'll be all right.
What's the over-under for that game? I have it at 142.5. If that's the case, I'm taking the over.
I've got it at 142 as well, so you are correct.
I'm much more comfortable with the over on that game than I am with the spread there.
All right. And so our final game of tomorrow that I can see for our lines, Davidson, 3.5-point favorites over St. Louis.
Whew, that one's tough. I mean, St. Louis has been on a pretty hot streak recently, but Davidson has been at the top of the conference for the A10, and so I'm probably still going to say that Davidson has that. What's the over-under on that one?
138.5.
Yeah, that's...
Sounds like a stay away.
Yeah, again, just because of how well the Billikens have been playing, I don't... Oh, man, that's just big. I take money line for Davidson. I'm not willing to take the spread there.
All right. And so that's all the games for tomorrow. Now we get back to what we've got on the show sheet because I got to know the teams Jason hopes will get in without a conference championship. We've got VCU. We've got you sucking up to the boss with the University of Dayton. We've got Seattle U, and we've got UAB.
Yeah, I mean, VCU's been playing well. I really enjoy just that team is always one of the teams that can surprise, especially in March. They're playing well when they need to. Same thing with Dayton. They have that ability. And UAB, like I said, I don't think they're going to win tomorrow. And so against that, I really want to see them play because I do think that they can take on some of the bigger name teams that wouldn't play them in the regular season. And that's what I really want for these teams especially. They all play extremely solid basketball, and so having the opportunity to get on a big stage like this would be more beneficial than seeing a crappy LSU team. Sorry, just throwing a team out there. But, I mean, in comparison, seeing one of these teams that are going to get in because they had the opportunity to play better teams and potentially grab a win against somebody that they know, again, I would much prefer to see one of these teams that are a mid-major have that opportunity instead.
Yeah, and absolutely. So Dayton was actually one of the teams that Chris dropped in his great bubble watch piece as one of the first 4 teams out. And I know that they're kind of right there holding on. I actually don't have the score. They were playing right as we went live, and they were in a really close one with UMass. So if they drop that game to UMass, that could be a really tough look for them. And a team that has, relatively played well. So.
All right.
They pulled it out 75-72 over UMass.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
They were down for a little bit, so.
Yeah, they again, it's one of those things that when you're seeing them struggle, again, part of the issue is they're playing against a former shocker in Noah Fernandez here, and he just helped lead that team with 26 points, and that's a big scoring benefit for UMass for sure. But man, that game was too close for comfort for him since UMass is 7-11 in conference play.
Yeah.
And so, with all of that in mind, we have one last topic to cover. Jason's teams, he keeps seeing protected or projected in brackets. If you put anything on the teleprompter,
You're
Ron
gonna read it.
Burgundy will read
I
it.
am Ron Burgundy.
Jason's teams that he keeps seeing projected in brackets that he doesn't really understand. We've got Notre Dame. We've got Marquette. We've got San Francisco. And we've got Wake Forest.
Yeah, and I just Notre Dame, I don't understand why they're even in consideration. Like, looking at this team as a whole, looking at their net, I don't understand why they're even an option. Marquette, I absolutely love the fact that Shaka Smart has found a team that is set up for him, that isn't a Big 12 team like Texas was. Marquette is a perfect kind of conference for him. It's very defense focused. He's going to be a solid player there, but I don't think his first year coaching this team that he should immediately go into the tournament, which I think is part of the reason they're projecting it. And they do have some key wins. Again, similar to Loyola Chicago, you have the San Francisco Dons, who keep being projected in because they have the right wins, just they don't have the resume for it. And of the options that I've given, I'd much rather see one of them over the San Francisco team. And again, Wake Forest dropped a huge game in their opening conference play, and I just don't understand why people see them as an option this year. Last year, perfect. This year, they're just not in it for this tournament, in my opinion.
So, Jason, that was actually another one of Chris's teams there, San Francisco, that he actually has a little bit higher as kind of moving themselves off the bubble. Do you think that the big difference there is maybe their ability to play some of these bigger time teams? I know that recently they played Gonzaga twice and lost by a combined 26. Is that kind of a big reason why you think their resume doesn't stack up?
Yeah, I mean, because for them, that is a quad one loss. So it doesn't hurt them as bad as it would be if it was any other team in their conference. I mean, Gonzaga is a high-level team. They are clearly, if you're playing them, likely a quad one. If you lose them, they're quad one loss for sure, especially since one of those games were likely at Gonzaga. And so it doesn't hurt their resume as bad, but the fact that, again, it was a team that they lost to, that's a high-level team, granted, I understand that. It's just the rest of their resume isn't there. And so the fact that they get this line just because of the fact that they are in this conference and they do get to play Gonzaga benefits them. It doesn't build a resume enough for me to want to put them into the tournament. And it clearly does for other
people. They had one of those 3 games against Gonzaga this year. You could say more confidently that they should be in, but I think they went over 3. I mean, that doesn't really help you.
Yeah. Had they won, like you said, if it was even one game that they won, oh man, of course, put them in. I mean, that's a big win, especially assuming it was probably going to be a neutral site. But oh man, that would have just been a huge resume booster for him for sure. Again, I also don't think that any team that beats Gonzaga should also get into the tournament immediately, but because you're looking at the St. Mary Gales here that I think they do deserve just because they do have a resume outside of Gonzaga, but I also see the fact that that is their biggest win.
And so, with all of that in mind, before Selection Sunday, who is everyone's Final Four?
We'll save the best for
It's
last.
tough to say without holding.
I'll wait. Okay. You guys go for it.
What do you got, V?
Okay, I was just going to say, it's tough to say if 4 teams, again, without seeing all the matchups. That's really going to determine a lot of this. But, some teams that have good odds, I think we mentioned earlier, Iowa, I think, is getting plus 900 to get there. Arkansas is around plus 1,100, plus 1,200, I think, to make the Final Four. Those are some nice sleeper teams. A higher-rated team that I really like this year is Kentucky. I think they have the player of the year in Oscar Tshiebwe. He's so much fun to watch. They're an excellent defensive team, excellent offensive team. They're projected to be a 2 seed right now, but if they win the SEC tournament in a couple of days, they could move up to a 1 seed. They're going to be a really fun team and a really hard team to knock out in this one. So those are a couple teams that I would like to sprinkle some money on to make the Final Four run.
Yeah, I like those picks too, especially from a value standpoint, because I'm always trying to take the combination of experience with value. So when you see a team like Arkansas, you see those other teams that V was highlighting. Those are, even if they might not, you can hedge yourself taking some of the blue bloods and still sprinkle more money in down the line and really come away with a nice bankroll at the end of it. So other than those teams, I mean, obviously love Duke, Kentucky, Gonzaga. I mean, Arizona too. Arizona's been playing so well. So we'll see exactly how it shakes out. Like we talked about, the matchups are so important, which is going to be super interesting. And we've got some news on the IN bracket challenge that we're going to have coming up. That's going to go live tomorrow. So for everybody out there, come hang out with us, play, try to compete against Vishaal and Jason. And the winner is going to be able to take home a subscription to our Discord, to our Patreon, and all of our content on the website. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Keep you posted on that tomorrow. So
I cannot wait. So wait. What happens if I beat them?
Well, I'm gonna make Steve fork over the fantasy football championship belt just as a loner. So we'll see. He's fighting me on it, but we'll see.
I already know the compromise. Steve is going to say, all right, I will take a picture of whoever does it and Photoshop the belt onto them.
That sounds about right. That sounds right up Steve's alley there.
Yeah, it really does. Oh boy. So yes, make sure you check out the Important Nonsense Patreon to sign up for the Important Nonsense Bracket Challenge and compete with the bright minds of Vishaal Gupta and Jason Draven and the dull minds of Mason Cameron and Jack Cavanagh.
Very well done. I'm excited. Okay. Saved it for last. I'll give you my 4 teams. Be very patient because
all the mid-majors, no Power 5 teams.
Well, okay. I'm taking Tommy Lloyd and Arizona Wildcats just because they are playing extremely well. I'm assuming that Gonzaga, they aren't going. If they are in the same conference with Gonzaga, I think that Arizona is going to give them a run for the money and probably knock out Gonzaga there. If that does end up happening,
be 1 seed, so unlikely they'll be in the same region. I think.
Like I said, if Arizona is not a 1 seed, that makes me. I just see everywhere I'm saying there as a 2, and it's bothering me so much. If they come out as a 2, we're in big trouble. I really hope they do have a 1 spot, but again. I would love to see an Arizona Gonzaga Final Four. I don't think it happens, but it will. I like Arizona as 1. The next team that I'm going to be looking at is going to be the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Let's go. There we go. Jason, let's go.
It will definitely depend on who they end up having to play against, but they do have the right pieces to have a lot of success this year. I'm excited for them. That program definitely deserves it. But we'll go to a team that is definitely a sleeper and really they have to win tomorrow for sure, and it has to be Memphis. The Memphis Tigers have all of the talent in the world. They are on a hot streak right now. I know Hardaway is technically the head coach, but Larry Brown is on that bench and doing all this work for this team, and it is really starting to show since Amoni Bates has been out. And DeAndre Williams has been back in. This team has been super hot. So that is my dark horse team for this tournament. Otherwise, you're looking at Kentucky as my 4th one. And that team is so solid. They have good guard play. And like you said, he's a beast. He should be player of the year. I'm excited for it. And this is going to be a fun year to watch basketball because anything can happen, especially in this year. It has just been insane watching all these tournaments going on and the teams that are winning. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah, there's no Gonzaga from last year where you were just in this absolute dominant force coming in. I think it's a much more level playing field this year than most years.
I mean, I picked Baylor to win last year, so, and it was against Gonzaga, so that ended up working out well for me, but, that can't pick them all right.
And so, with all of that in mind, a quick recap because we've got a lot of betting information here. We've got bet against USC in the first round. We've got Bet Loyola Chicago and Murray State as the underdogs. We've got Bet Yale over Penn. Tulane plus 13. LA Tech money line over UAB. We've got Iowa 6.5-point favorites over Indiana. We've got Arkansas in the Final Four, and we've got Arkansas over A&M tomorrow.
I like the sound of that. Whoop
That
it.
sounds like a big old parlay that's definitely worth it to me.
All right. So with all of that in mind, make sure you follow at football_Mace. Make sure you follow at that FF nerd, Jason Draven, and make sure you follow at Vishaal_Gupta 95. And you can follow me everywhere at Cavanagh 87. We will be back next week to talk about bracket building, but until then, we will see you next time.